Hi, good morning, everyone. A very warm welcome to the launch of the Local Skills Improvement Plan for Berkshire. Apologies, we started slightly late. We had a couple of technical issues, but they've been solved now, so we're ready to go. Delighted to have so many people on the call this morning. Really big thanks to all of you for giving up your time to be with us, and a big thanks in advance to our speakers that we've got with us this morning, who you can see on the next slide, I believe. So we've deliberately pulled together a range of different speakers for the event this morning, and they're all here to talk about some of the initiatives that are already underway to help to meet the skills needs that have been identified in the Local Skills Improvement Plan. Couple of bits of housekeeping for you. You'll notice your cameras and mics are automatically switched off in this webinar format. It's just the speakers that you can see and who can use their mics. But that doesn't mean you can't ask questions. There is a Q&A button on the bottom of your screen, so please do drop questions in there throughout the presentations, and we've built in some time towards the end to answer those for you. A quick update just on where we are with the Local Skills Improvement Plan. The Thames Valley Skills Unit at the Chamber of Commerce has been working on the plan for both Berkshire and Oxfordshire for over a year now. Stage one of the plan is now complete. That was the stage where we undertook extensive research. We engaged with over 1,000 employers. We had very close collaboration with education and training providers and wider partners and trade bodies, and that enabled us to write a very rich and detailed report, which was approved by the DfE and is now published. We're now moving on to stage two, and really the launch event today is the launch for stage two of the plan, and this is where the real work starts, to be honest with you. We have a roadmap of actions in the plan which we believe and the research suggests will help to even better meet the skills needs of local employers in the priority sectors. And carrying out these actions is now our focus for the next 2 years. We can only succeed in that by working in partnership with all of you on the call today and more broadly. Today really is about those actions in the roadmap and the progress that's already being made with them. And our range of speakers will give you a flavour of what's happening there. They're covering a number of the actions in the roadmap. There are many more in there, so I would urge you to have a good look through that roadmap at the end of the plan. And please do get in touch if you want to be involved in any of those, or if you just want to find out more and have questions about them. We've worked very hard over the last year to represent the voice of employers and industry and business. We now feel we're able to use our reach and our links to establish long-term relationships between local business and providers, so that they can co-develop solutions to the skills issues that they have. We're very much looking for pragmatic, tangible solutions that will positively impact on those employers by joining them up with the education and training and wider partners who can actually deliver those solutions. So the journey towards delivering the LSIP very much starts here and now. Next slide, please, Ned. So we're delighted to say that we want to get things underway with an introduction from the Chief Exec from the Thames Valley Chamber, Paul Britton, and he's recorded a short video for us, which you'll be able to listen to now.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Paul Britton. I'm Chief Executive of Thames Valley Chamber of Commerce. And it's my great pleasure to welcome you all here to this launch event for the publication of the Local Skills Improvement Plans for the vibrant and wonderful county of Berkshire. This event is brought to you by the Skills Unit at Thames Valley Chamber of Commerce. And I hope this morning You'll get a sense of the importance and significance of the report and its recommendations, which are there to tackle skill shortages and enhance, that's a key word, enhance post-16 technical education in the county. The foundations for developing the report were laid out over a number of years. Some of that work was as a collective and national effort by accredited chambers who are delivering a majority of the LSIPs across England, but also with other employer representative bodies as well. It's also a local effort because we know that 4 out of 5 of the businesses across the Thames Valley tell us in our quarterly survey that recruitment and access to skills is one of the main barriers to growth. And many of those challenges are complex. We recognise that employers often need help in navigating the skills system. So I wanted to start by thanking all of the employers, the colleges, the training providers, and those involved in this local skills improvement plan, but particularly our LSIP advisory group. It's important for everybody on the session to know you've got an excellent champion and chair of the advisory group in Stuart Carroll, who's one of the directors at Moderna, a success story for the UK and local employer. He's helped to steer our work. And I know from the session that we had with the Chancellor recently, where he passionately made the case for continued support of the LSIP programme, that he's incredibly keen for this work and collaborative work to continue. The Chamber's used its reach to talk to over 1,000 local employers, and many of you will be on today's webinar. This kind of engagement, this volume of engagement and quality of conversation has never been achieved before. So I'm incredibly proud of the efforts that the skills unit at the Chamber here have made, but we must keep this going. That's the message that I'm hearing from employers and those involved. And as a governor of a local college group in Berkshire, I've seen firsthand just how colleges and training providers are using the LSIP plan and its outcomes to drive and inform positive change. It's leading to co-development of solutions with enlightened local businesses. These are making real practical differences. It's the process rather than the report itself that's providing real value. Getting in the same room, so we're here to do today, getting in the same room, and that is helping employers and providers to speak the same language. There's a huge amount of learning in that collaboration. So one of the early first actions and recommendations is that we capture that learning in something called a virtual guide for working together. It does what it says on the tin. We want the LSIP to provide simple, practical solutions. So thank you for joining us this morning. It's great to see such a diverse range of representatives for the business and the education sector. My key final message on behalf of the Chamber and the LSIP team is the launch of the publication is only the start. The measure of success is going to be those new long-term local relationships and connections we can create together with providers and businesses, particularly those harder to reach SMEs. Have a great session.
Thank you, Paul, for that warm up. Just useful for me to reiterate that the more we hear from this is very much an employer-led project. So the more we hear from you as employers, the more we're able to evaluate the local needs, evaluate the information that we gather, and we're better therefore able to, as an LSIP team, to potentially influence local provision of training. And Dom, who's next up speaking, has been a champion of the Chamber for as long as I've known her, and is now working very closely with us on the Workforce Development Partnership plan. So without further ado, I'll hand straight over to Dom, if that's okay.
Great, thank you. My job is, I guess, to sort of just run through what the Workforce Development Partnership is, what it looks like. Most people might be used to kind of all of this jargon. My role as both a small business owner and a trainer means that I can get used to all these acronyms and hopefully demystify them a bit and help some of our local businesses and even some of our local councils and educators to navigate some of the structures, and the most important structure for small businesses and big businesses is the Workforce Development Partnership, in informing what it is that we address through the LSIP, and making sure that the LSIP that's now been published is actually implemented and that businesses in Berkshire are benefiting. So my focus is on the Workforce Development Partnership for the screen industries. And I've been involved for a long time working with Simon to pull together as many of the businesses within the chamber, but more importantly, those that aren't already engaged with the chamber, to come to give their feedback on their workforce, on their issues, on the challenges in developing and upskilling, reskilling, recruiting within the screen industries. The screen industries had a massive post-COVID boom and backlog. We're now in a little lull, and we anticipate in the next 6 months another boom and backlog. So it's the perfect time for the LSIP to land, and the Workforce Development Partnership allows lots and lots of those screen industry businesses, ranging from people who produce, like myself, who might be a small production company, all the way through to people like Callum, that you'll hear from shortly, who might also be in the supply chain or working in post-production or servicing the film industry, which is a massive growing industry in our area. So we've been working with local colleges now to look at the plan and to try and secure funding in partnership with training providers like Activate, Windsor Forest Colleges Group, independent training providers, even ourselves in the training work we do, to make sure we can address the needs that come up through the Workforce Development Partnership. And so one of the parallel outcomes, which is working alongside and kind of potentially match funding some of the outcomes from the LSIP, is something that I wanted to share with you today for the first time, which is we are about to launch something. When I say we, there's a group of partners who have all been actively involved in the LSIP and have coalesced around the same issues that are addressed in the LSIP. And we've come together to launch Screen Berkshire. So as of the 3rd of October, we will have an actual project that works in parallel to the LSIP and seeks to address the issues raised in the LSIP with local training providers, with local businesses in the screen sector and training up the screen sector. So our partners for Screen Berkshire are the University of Reading, Shinfield Studios, Bedlam Film Productions, and Berkshire Film Office, which is a collection of all 6 local councils across Berkshire, and it's led by Resource Productions. And we were lucky enough to bid for collectively some British Film Institute BFI funding back in November, and we actually secured the funding. It was released on the 1st of April, and we've already been delivering on some of the LSIP plan objectives in partnership with lots of people in the Workforce Development Partnership. And so we're hoping the two will work together in parallel and mean that we can add a lot more value to the addressing the issues that come out of this Workforce Development Partnership. Our next meeting of the partnership is going to take place at the launch of Screen Berkshire. We're having a pre-meeting before the official launch, so invited local businesses from Berkshire, anyone on this call who hasn't been invited, who's in the screen industries, who'd like to be invited to that meeting. It's going to be on the launch date, the 3rd of October, and that will take place at Shinfield Studios. So do contact Simon and myself if you haven't been invited to the next Screen Industries WDP, another good abbreviation, and we'd love to get everyone's input into that and to share what's happening with Screen Berkshire as it launches on that day as well. I think that's mostly what I was supposed to cover, Simon, so hopefully that has given everyone a flavour of where we're at with the Screen Industries.
Thanks, Dom. Sorry, we seem to have missed your background slide there, but never mind. And what you said, it's so important. It's about attracting and retaining the best talent and upskilling and training for careers within the arena. And this is cross-sectoral as well. So it's, our workforce development plans will also be moving on into construction, health and life sciences and hospitality, although that's Oxfordshire based. And then we will look at other sectors as we kind of develop the programme. So I think now we're due for who's up next. It's Callum, who we spoke to earlier, and he's been heavily involved with work with Dom as well. So Callum, I'll hand straight over to you if that's okay.
Thanks very much. Hello everyone, my name's Callum. I'm the sales manager at Matinee Multilingual. We've been based on the Oxford Road in Reading for about 40 years, and we're a voiceover, subtitling and translation production company. And late last year, in my inbox landed an email from a University of Reading student who was writing an essay on voiceover and wanted some kind of extra knowledge to help. So we welcomed her into our studios, got her behind the microphone. I talked to her about the industry, and subsequently I did a LinkedIn post where I was lucky enough to connect with Jeff Anderson, who is part of the careers team at the University of Reading. After a few conversations, he invited me to the LSIP workshop, which was earlier this year, which I found thoroughly engaging and very eye-opening. And having attended the workshop, it inspired me to go back to my management team and reignite our work experience program, which we did a lot for pre kind of COVID, but had dropped off. So along with my production manager, we went about using our contacts to kind of provide this opportunity to others. And the two that we did through my channels was Jeff. I was invited to a guest lecture at the University of Reading. And off the back of that, we invited a small number of university students to get a day's work experience in our studios. So they sat down with myself and they learned all about the industry, about routes into the industry and everything that is involved to create voiceover, subtitling or translations that you see on your TV screens or podcasts and those kind of things. And it really opened them up to kind of what was out there for them. And then my production manager got in touch with a teacher at Chiltern Edge Maiden Early in secondary school and invited year 10 students into work experience where again they got behind the microphone. We helped them do some script writing, really gave them hands-on experience and used our platform as a local business to engage the education sector to use us for their kind of benefit and really help their students. The things that we found when speaking to the teachers is that they were very thankful for this opportunity because post-COVID, they found that with hybrid working, remote working, these opportunities have become less to have face-to-face and tangible contact within the working environment. And especially for working recording studios like ours, there's not many in the local area that they can gain access to and get behind a microphone and sit with the engineers and get hands-on experience. And the students as well kind of came back to us and said they really enjoyed how eye-opening it was for them to be in that environment, to complement what they've been taught and really kind of add on new knowledge to them. And it really made us aware that what we're doing is really important in bridging that gap between education and private business. And so I think this is a real key thing that LSIP has highlighted to us. And there wasn't really many barriers as a business for us to achieve this. There was a small amount of paperwork, just kind of making sure that we had the right insurances, we had kind of key contacts that the school could get in touch with. But apart from that, there wasn't really much stopping us. And I think if you've got the platform to do it, it's really quite easy and incredibly beneficial. So much so, we've got really nice handwritten letters from students and teachers. We've got a lot of social media posts from the university students as well. So I do think that the LSIP is such a great thing. And I think I'd encourage a lot more businesses to get involved in the Workforce Development Partnership and really help strengthen those links between business and education. So that's everything from me.
Thank you ever so much, Callum. And I those messages you're getting across there about the links and the relationships between business and education really speak to the very heart, I think, of the local skills improvement plans and what they're trying to achieve. I think it's also very interesting you came along to an event, you met people from the world of education and training, and on the back of that, some of their students are now getting work experience opportunities. I can't emphasize enough how important those opportunities are, not only to those young people, but also to the future talent pipelines of the businesses themselves as well. And those workforce development partnerships will work on a similar line really to the event you went to. It's about the relationships that get built through those partnerships and the conversations that happen, and then the developments that happen outside of the meetings themselves. That's going to be the real power, I think, of those partnerships as you've demonstrated there. So thank you very much. And we can have the next slide, please, Ned. Thank you. So one key part of the action plan is the workforce development partnerships. Another key part of it is the creation of new education and training programs to help to meet the skills needs that have been identified in the plan. And we're delighted to introduce Claire initially, and then Jonathan, who are going to talk to you about some of the work that's being done in that world of new education and training provision. So over to you, Claire.
Thank you for the introduction, Simon. I promised to keep to time, and I've got quite a few slides, so I'll need to go through them quite quickly. But if you can go on to the first one, please. The next one, sorry. So Berkshire joined the Skills Boot Camps in March of this year after a bid to DFE, and it's actually the fourth wave of delivery as part of the Skills for Life initiative. So why Skills Boot Camps? Well, the key is that they're employer and data led, so they're specifically looking to address the local skills gaps and priorities for recruitment, obviously that we're talking about here with the LSIP. The two aims are to progress people into work or into higher paid or higher skilled employment, but also giving people an opportunity who've had a career break to refresh their skills before they go back into the workplace. They also provide employers with an opportunity to access funding to support upskilling their own teams. Can I have the next slide, please? Just to give you a bit more information about the Skills Boot Camps for those that are unfamiliar, they're DFE funded courses. They're up to 16 weeks in length. Some of them are shorter, so we've got some full-time courses that are 3 or 4 weeks, and they have to be a minimum of 60 guided learning hours, which is live learning. Most of them are face-to-face, but there's also some blended where they're online and face-to-face delivery. They're unique in that the delivery providers have to guarantee an interview at the end of the Skills Boot Camp, and the final payment for those providers is actually dependent on participants either securing a new job or an opportunity with their employer if they're self-employed, a new opportunity for new contracts. In terms of eligibility, you have to be 19 years of age and have the right to work in the UK, but you can be employed, self-employed, unemployed, looking to get back into the workplace, a career changer, or as I mentioned, it could be somebody who's looking to change direction. So what's the value to employers? There's quite a number of reasons, I think, why employers should be looking at Skills Boot Camps as an option for them. You can use them to upskill your own teams. So there's an opportunity to develop bespoke courses with some of our delivery partners. Newbury College have been working with AWE to really successfully deliver an engineering skills boot camp this year, working with some of the mechanical engineers to improve their practical skills. And that's gone really well, and they've just finished their first delivery. Employers can recruit from our skills boot camps, so they can interview our alumni once they've finished their courses, and they can use them to fill vacancies or apprenticeship vacancies. And because the boot camps are industry informed, the participants that have been on those boot camps should be, they should have the skills that you're looking for. You can also provide data or projects to our boot camps. So the Curious Academy are always looking for raw data for their data analysts. So there's opportunities there, but also if you want to get involved in terms of, a visit or just providing specialist advice in your industry, then that would be more than welcome. In terms of the funding, any independent learners going onto the boot camps, this one, thank you. Any independent learners are completely free. So if you take on a participant of the boot camps to fill one of your roles, then there's no fee at any point. So obviously you're avoiding any recruitment fees. If you're an employer and you want to use the boot camps to upskill your own teams, then if you're an SME, there's a 10% contribution. And if you're a large employer, then there's a 30% cost, and the costs depend on the boot camp that we're talking about, but I can provide more information for those that people are interested. Can I have the next slide, please? So what have we delivered so far? We've been working with 6 different delivery partners, and there's a real mix of FE colleges and college groups and some smaller education providers. And we've delivered a real mix of level 3 to level 5, so essentially A-level to degree level skills boot camps. The exceptions to that is the construction and the green skills, which is a level 2, and some of our life science delivery goes up to a level 6. Have the next slide, please. In terms of the skills boot camps sectors that we're looking at, the digital boot camps, unsurprisingly, are really successful, and we're on the 4th cohorts of digital marketing and data analytics, which have been run by the Curious Academy. Their first cohorts have actually just finished their training. So if anyone's looking for an analyst or a digital marketeer, then Curious Academy or get in touch with myself about that. Resource production. So Dom's team over there have just delivered a successful, oversubscribed film and television skills boot camp. And there are also green skills boot camps in electric bikes, electric vehicles. There's a green technology retrofit course that's starting at the end of this month over in Langley with Windsor Forest College Group. And there's a renewable course coming along. There's a life science for lab skills course that started this week. And Resource Productions are currently accepting applications for a camera, lighting and grips skills bootcamp. Have the next slide, please. So how does this all fit with the LSIP? The bid we submitted last year for the boot camps was based on Berkshire LEP skills report and the vacancy data that's available. This time we've issued a prospectus at the end of last month, and we've invited potential delivery partners to submit expressions of interest. But one of the things we've required from them is they actually reference the LSIP, and they use the evidence of either cross-sector skills shortages or priority LSIPs, priority sectors in that information, so that we're making sure we're aligned with the LSIP information there. The last slide was just my contact details and a copy of the prospectus. Thanks.
Thank you ever so much, Claire, and an absolutely fabulous job of getting through 9 slides in 5 minutes, which I didn't believe you'd be able to do. But thank you ever so much for that. I mean, more seriously, it's fantastic to see the Skills Bootcamp offer being really closely aligned with the LSIP priorities. You know, great example of joined up thinking and working. It's already happening there. And you know, just fantastic opportunities there for employers in terms of recruitment of new people coming through, or indeed the upskilling and reskilling of existing staff. And that is also an important feature within the LSIP. We won't meet the skills challenges just through new people coming through. It is about, you know, the upskilling and reskilling and cross-skilling of people that are already in employment or looking to come back into employment as well. So thank you ever so much for that. Next slide, please, Ned. So there's obviously another big arm to the education and training piece here, which is being provided by the FE colleges across Berkshire, and we're delighted to have Jonathan with us this morning. He's going to talk about that offer right across the county. Jonathan.
Thanks. I mean, I've gone for the exact opposite approach. I've got one slide just to keep it simple for me today. All what Claire's talked about will probably sort of fit very well into this, in that skills bootcamps are one of the kinds of things that colleges should be now looking to do in response to the LSIP, as she's articulated. So before talking specifically about the Local Skills Improvement Fund, what I want to talk about is what the LSIPs mean for colleges. So it's the kind of so what. So we've got the LSIPs. What do colleges actually have to do in response to that? So working back a couple of years, LSIPs were part of the Skills for Jobs white paper that the government published. And lots of the reforms in that were really about making sure that colleges were more accountable to local stakeholders for the extent to which they meet local skills needs. So traditionally, education providers, you could argue, are measured more on kind of Ofsted outcomes, which tends to look at the quality of teaching that happens in a classroom, less so maybe whether what's getting taught is actually helping people to progress in employment or help local businesses to recruit the staff that they need. So there are 2 or 3 reforms. The first was actually to how we're inspected by Ofsted. So in the new inspection regime, one of the measurements we have is on the extent to which we do meet local skills needs. So Activate Learning actually was one of the first organisations to go under that process, and pleased to say we were found to be making a strong contribution to meeting local skills needs. So Ofsted, in addition to speaking to students and staff, actually spoke to around about 50 stakeholders, so businesses, civic stakeholders, local community groups, to get their feedback on whether or not they felt that Activate Learning was making a contribution to meeting skills needs. In future, they would look at the LSIP, and that'd be one of the documents they'd pull out to kind of assess us against as a college. So that's the first. The second is that in response to the LSIP, Each of the further education colleges in the area, so particularly the first three names on that list, Windsor Forest, Newbury and Activate Learning, we'll have to publish an evaluation, a self-evaluation of how well we think we meet skills needs, referencing the LSIP. So if there are any gaps in our provision, we should say so and we should try to address those. One thing that is important to specify, though, is that what we're interested in is in combination as a skills sector, do we meet those skills needs? So it may be that some of us in that group specialise on and focus on some of what's in the LSIP, and other colleges focus on all. But the important thing is the skills ecosystem in Berkshire should in combination be meeting the skills needs of the county. And then the final thing is this local skills improvement fund. So Berkshire's been awarded £2.5 million to be spent over the next 18 months by the partner organisations that you see on that list there. So it's a collaborative bid. So Activate Learning is the lead partner, but really all we're doing is coordinating the project and the bid, which went in yesterday, to help support the projects that you see from the different colleges there. So I won't go through kind of blow by blow each one, but I think in terms of ones that are highlighted, Windsor Forest have gone for a fairly significant investment in screen industries, which we know is a massive, as Dom and others have outlined, is a huge growth sector for the local area. Newbury College, I'll just pull out BEMS for those who don't know what BEMS is. It's about the energy management systems in buildings, so it's very much related to green technologies, green construction, making sure that buildings are more energy efficient. And at Activate Learning, our two big investments, one is in the plumbing workshops, which again is green construction. It's around about heat pumps and rainwater capture, and then also the delivery of a new flexible digital degree program. So these projects are starting in the next month or so, and the funding is going to be spent over the next 18 months. It's a mixture of capital and revenue. I said in total it's £2.5 million. With all of these, if you see something, if you're an employer, you see something on this list that sounds kind of pertinent to you, then please contact the college in question or reach out directly to me and we can get you involved. Goes without saying, with all of these, the more employers are involved in shaping these projects in terms of what the curriculum offer is, in terms of how we spend the capital investment, we're always keen. Even outside of these projects, I would say, if again you're an employer involved in one of the LSIP priorities sectors and you're not already working with local education colleges and you want to, please do reach out directly to us. You should assume that if the kind of sector you work in is highlighted in the LSIP, then your local college is going to be wanting to see what more it could do to support businesses in that sector. So it's an open and ongoing invitation to work collaboratively. That's me, I think. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you, John. Really interesting, and it's interesting to hear from an FE provider's point of view, because traditionally there was always a disconnect, I suppose, between curriculum that was handed down by maybe central government, and that was the provision and that was the offer, whereas now there's a much more modern approach, and therefore the more that we hear from local employers, the better the provision is likely to be made, I suppose. And that this is why I'm still banging on about having employers kind of lead the conversation, really. It's vital that employers actually shout about their kind of local needs in order that people like John and the FE colleges can actually start evaluating the provision for skills in the local area in order that we can retain and also upskill for careers as opposed to just jobs. So another key feature of the action plan is the promotion of the wide breadth of careers available in our priority sectors, and our priority sectors are all available on the website, or you can speak to myself or Simon about them. And we're working with a number of organisations across the Thames Valley, Oxfordshire and Berkshire in particular, including both the local LEPs or LEPs, careers hubs, and indeed Advisor, who are a private provider. And I'm very pleased to say that we've got Alison Giles here to talk about a project we're developing with them on this. Over to you, Alison.
Thank you, Sarah. Next slide, please. So, hello, my name's Alison Giles and I'm the Strategic Careers Hub lead for Berkshire Careers Hub. We're funded by the Careers and Enterprise Company, the national company organisation that's funded by the Department for Education. We're a small team of 7 and our hub is working with almost all of the secondary schools, plus middle schools, alternative provision and special schools across Berkshire. Our network also includes colleges, providers, training providers and employers. And I'm going to talk to you specifically about our vision, what we're doing to promote our priority sectors in Berkshire, and also how you can get involved. Next slide, please. So our vision is to raise the quality of careers provision in schools and colleges. We do this by enabling young people to access high quality experiences with employers, empowering informed decision making. And you've heard from other speakers about how you can get involved in providing those high quality exposure to the world of work to support young people. We do this by strengthening school careers support. We support careers leaders in many ways, including providing bespoke programs, assisting disadvantaged young people, narrowing the achievement gaps and helping teachers to link subjects to careers to bring subjects to life. We also support school and college programs with local economies to ensure that we're cultivating the skills demanded by employers. And ultimately, we want to inspire ambition and success in all of our young people. Next slide, please. How are we supporting our priority sectors specifically? We're enhancing the school and college career guidance. We're enabling young people to access those high quality work experience opportunities, meaningful exposure to them. With support from our cornerstone employers who are from our priority sectors, some are from our priority sectors, we're providing both virtual and in-person work experience and work exposure. We also commission bespoke programs focused on activity and exposure to students in key sectors. We also recruit enterprise advisors who are volunteers from business, from our priority sectors and beyond, to work with schools on a one-to-one basis. And we also connect our school and college services to local economies by providing dedicated labour market resources, which consist of lesson plans, posters, case studies, fact sheets, and labour market presentations. We also have facilitated and can continue to facilitate specialised training for careers leaders in priority sectors such as the NHS and others. And we're looking forward to working with the LSIP to develop those working groups. We're also collaborating with STEM Ambassador Network, which is a really good example of initiatives that are aimed to fostering creativity for young people and providing that real innovative learning experience for young people. We're looking forward to working with the LSIP team to create more innovative ways of bringing these priority sectors to life and make these sectors more relatable to young people. Next slide, please. In summary, the initiatives that we support aim to foster that creativity and experiential learning for young people and understanding amongst our young people. And hopefully all of these efforts will have a positive impact on the development of skills and the preparation of young individuals for the future career opportunities and priority sectors in Berkshire. How you can support us is by various initiatives. As I've described, you could become an enterprise advisor and join our enterprise advisor network. You could give an hour supporting one of our schools and colleges just for 1 hour a year, be part of a large database supporting our young people. You could provide an experience of the workplace, and everybody on this call has talked about how vital that is. Or you could become a cornerstone employer, and our cornerstone employers are a very small group of large employers across Berkshire who are helping us to cultivate initiatives and provide networks to support young people in Berkshire. If you want to get involved in any of these initiatives, next slide please, my details are all on the attached slide, so you can contact me or any of the team. Look, follow our LinkedIn page, email our generic email box or myself directly, and find out more about some of the initiatives that we're working on with schools. Thank you.
Okay, thank you ever so much, Alison. And delighted to be working with yourselves and careers professionals in Oxfordshire as well, of course. The research within the LSIP showed very much the need to keep doing all we can to promote just the huge breadth of opportunity there are in these priority sectors, and just getting a better understanding of those sectors across to those working in education, and also the young people themselves. That they're not going to come through into these priority sectors if they don't have a really good understanding of them and some kind of exposure to them, whilst they're still at school or college. So that whole kind of careers promotion piece is really important within the LSIP. And as I say, we're delighted to be working with you on it. Before I forget, I'm just going to plug the Q&A again. So we've got some questions coming in. If you've got any questions at all, do put them in that Q&A box, and we've got a little bit of time at the end to run through those. Just in terms of our final speaker, we talked about the overall actions in the roadmap so far, the kind of general actions, but there are sector-specific actions for all of the priority sectors as well. And I'm pleased to introduce now a short video from Charlie Walker, who's the sales director at Walker Logistics, and he's going to talk about some of the challenges and opportunities within his sector as an example of some of those sector-specific priorities that we're looking at. So if we can play the video, please, Ned, that would be great.
Hi, my name's Charlie Walker, and I'm Sales Director and one of the owners and directors of Walker Logistics Limited. Walker Logistics is a third-party logistics company with its headquarters at Membury on the Berkshire-Wiltshire border. We're an omni-channel fulfillment specialist looking after both B2B, that's business to business, and B2C, e-commerce fulfillment orders for a range of clients across a number of different sectors and industries. I think there's a danger in saying that logistics and supply chain generally has not been seen as a particularly glamorous industry from a recruitment perspective over the last 10, 15, perhaps even 20 years. It's not been seen as as exciting. I think particularly younger individuals coming out of university and college have not necessarily looked to supply chain as something that they could have a long and sort of progressive career in. I remember going back, crikey, 20 plus years, picking and packing in my school holidays, we were using pens and paper, but there's been a lot of change, thankfully, since then. And, we're now running high-end warehouse management systems. All of our pickers and packers in the warehouses are scanning, locations and items using, RF guns. And, there's a lot more automation in the sector generally. And, there would be companies and organizations that, are a lot more automated than ourselves still. Worldwide global supply chains have become vastly more complicated over the last 5 or 10 years. And, what that means is that, there's a host of different skills now that logistics and supply chain providers need to meet those changing demands and challenges. So, not just, people might look and think that, logistics is a short-term career opportunity. There's potentially a high turnover in the industry. It's just a warehouse job as a picker and packer or a forklift driver, which could be quite transient, and people don't tend to stay in those roles for a long period of time. But that's not the case anymore. I don't think. Certainly from our perspective, we're constantly looking to upskill our employees, offer them sort of continuous improvement training, across a wide range of roles. It's not just, as I say, a warehouse sort of picker and packer role or a typical sort of office environment. There's high-end automation, not just within our operation now, but within logistics and supply chain operations generally. So, that could be anything from, inventory planners and people analysing data for the onboarding of new clients and existing clients, to people operating, RF guns, conveyor belts and robots in warehouses. The landscape, I think, has shifted. And that's exciting from our perspective. We've got big plans to grow our business. Designs on putting up some additional facilities in the next year or so here at Membry. And there's a vast range of roles that we're going to require to run that operation. As I say, there's a real sort of option for a long-term career in logistics and supply chain, and a path to success. And obviously to meet the needs of those jobs and roles that we're looking for, we look to reach out and partner with local universities, colleges and schools, to make sure that they're offering courses and training programs, to meet those needs and give those individuals the best opportunity to pursue a long-term career in logistics and supply chain. So, in short, from my perspective, something that was perhaps seen as an industry that wasn't particularly glamorous, not particularly exciting, and maybe something that was a short-term stepping stone in terms of a career to something else. That's very much not the case now. Logistics is a high-tech, fast-paced industry, and something that would give you the opportunity across a variety of different roles to really get stuck into, something that's exciting, and would drive a long-term career in logistics. And that's something hopefully that's come across that we're really passionate about here at Walker Logistics. We're all about our people. Our people are our best asset, and that's why we're looking to continually invest in them and recruit to drive our business forward. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ned. Thanks also to Charlie for that video. And having run a transport and logistics forum, my eyes were opened, and I have to say, as a parent, I kind of assumed, well, I had one of my children come to me and said, I'm going to go into transport and logistics. Automatically, high vis springs to mind. And you think either warehouse or HGV driver, when in actual fact, there are real shortages in data analysts. Making sure the right aeroplane is in the right place on the ground at the right time in order for a truck to pick it up, so on and so forth. And so the wider key stakeholders, parents and the like, should also know about this, and that's why I will bang on about it until my dying day, that our employers need to shout more about the breadth of opportunity that's in the background. Same with hospitality. You think waiters, waitresses, bar staff, etc. They have marketing teams, they have law teams behind them, and so on and so forth. So that that was a really great message from Charlie, and you can actually find out a bit more about it across all the sectors that are shaping the future workforce event. So it's in South Oxfordshire. However, it is open to all Berkshire and the wider Thames Valley indeed. Just a bunch of good speakers. There'll be FE providers there, independent training providers, and a really good opportunity to engage with wider audience and share best practices with like-minded businesses. So I think that's it from me. Simon, I'm going to hand over to you now, I think, for the Q&A, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine, Sarah. Thank you. And I can see there's a few more questions come in, so we'll take these just in the order they arrived, and I'll refer to some other speakers as well at time. So we've got one here from Andrew Eldred around skills boot camps, which Claire might be able to help with. And Andrew says the skills boot camps take account of sector competence requirements. For example, need to be a qualified electrician before upskilling to install EV charging points or solar PV systems or what have you. So
the short answer to that is yes. So some of the skills boot camps don't have any competence requirements at all. other than, for example, with the digital skills boot camps, you need to have a basic sort of PC competence, be able to use Google and that kind of thing, for data analytics, to have some familiarity with Excel. But obviously, in terms of some of the more specific sort of like the green skills for the retrofit technology green skills that Langley are going to start delivering, there are some competency requirements, and the life sciences, you have to have either an A-level or a degree in some kind of either a pure science or some kind of social science, or have sector experience and return. So yeah, yes, you do.
Okay, thank you, Claire. Moving on, there's a couple of others here. So Clive Stokes here has said, excellent presentations, thank you, but perceived emphasis is still on young people. What's being planned to utilise and develop skills of those in mid-career, late 40s, 50s, with massive commercial experience, but frequently obsolete tech knowledge, and how will this support be publicised? So absolutely, Clive, there is a bit of an emphasis on kind of sort of 16 to 24, I suppose, within LSIPs, but when we started doing the research, as I said earlier, we quickly realised that it isn't just about that age group. It is about the reskilling, upskilling of those that are older than that. So there is quite a bit of detail about that in the LSIP itself. You've heard a bit, obviously, around skills boot camps there, which are aimed specifically at those that are 19 or over. There's quite a lot in the LSIP about cross-sector skills, so leadership and management skills, general employability skills, HR skills, and what have you, which again could fit into that category. And very happy to have a further conversation around all of that, Clive, as well. And then finally, Suzanne has asked, are there any thoughts on how you can manage the number of training providers who approach employers every year? I know employers find this hard to manage. I think the initial answer to that is the workforce development partnerships, Suzanne. Hopefully there'll be a bit of a game changer in those priority sectors that we're running them in, because that's a forum that automatically brings representatives from education and training together with representatives from the sector, and becomes a kind of a funnel, if you like, to manage that flow of information and to build those relationships. Finally, Sally Bone has asked, will the slides be shared after the presentation? Yes, absolutely. We will get links out to the whole of the presentation that we'll be putting up on our YouTube channel. Claire, you've got your hand up, I see.
I have. It was only going back to Clive's point, really. Just to mention that although you have to be over the age of 19 to apply for a skills boot camp, we've got a real mix of age groups. So some of the skills boot camps do have people that have had a huge break or are just looking for a complete change of direction, or to upskill with technology, as Clive mentioned. So they are available. There's no age limit on skills boot camps at all.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Claire. Right, final slide next. I'm conscious of time. We've got about 30 seconds, I think, here. So the final slide is just literally about next steps. Really achieving the action set out in the roadmap over the next 2 years is very much dependent on working to the values and behaviours that we've developed as we've researched the plan itself. So really our next steps are all about putting those values and behaviours into action. The Thames Valley Skills Unit can facilitate progress. We've got a good understanding now about what matters to employers. We can act as their voice to help build those relationships between business and providers. But again, we can only achieve this and add real value if we work together, which is a value on there. If we're open and inclusive, if there's clear thinking, plain talking, and putting those needs of business first. We also recognise here that solving some of these skills shortages is a long-term aim, and we're looking to work with all of you to try and create impact over the next 2 years, obviously, but also beyond the life of the current LSIP time frame. We look forward to working with all of you on all of that agenda. We'd like to thank you again for your time, and a massive thank you to all of the speakers and their very valuable contributions this morning. as I said, we will follow up with an email containing a link to the presentation and all the various different contact details so that you can reach out as easily as possible and get involved and stay in touch. Thank you all very, very much for your presence today.